Okay, so I want to set a stage. Very many people in the room, as I can smell, and in general, are excited about this opportunity in Canada and here in the States because of this crop. I have these few names: marijuana, weed, ganja, pot, Mary Jane, cannabis. 2 weeks ago, I was giving a talk in Edmonton the day after legalization of recreational marijuana in Canada, and the new name was electric lettuce. So I love it. I love it. So any other names that I can put on my presentation that you guys use in here? Sir? No? No? Yes, exactly. I collect this fun, I mean, just like exotic names. So as you can see, there are two types of operations. One is your basement, and the other is commercial operation that we looks familiar, right? So, and this is what we are having right now in Canada. Actually, on Wednesday, I was visiting a facility that is about to open. They are starting with 30,000 square feet. Eventually, they want to progress to 160 acres of high THC cannabis in just closed compartments. So this is high THC cannabis. THC, what, 25, 30%? You know, just stronger lines, strains as you call it. No? No? Yeah? Yes, absolutely. Yes. So today what I'm going to push this button anyhow, I will be talking predominantly about opportunities, about the gold rush related to low THC cannabis. This is our crop. This is a crop that I've been working for 16 years in Canada. And you can spot differences between the two. Okay, three top differences between two panels, left panel and right panel. Number one difference? Height. Yes, absolutely. Number two? Outdoors. Outdoors, two, excellent. And? Size of the operation, right? So you can see just like a few plants in here, and you see acres and acres. So three major differences. You're a smart audience. You can see the differences. Unfortunately, not everybody can do it. Look at my breeding nursery of industrial hemp, low THC cannabis. You can see in here what has happened. You can see what has happened. Some guys came to my nursery and they snipped off 22 flower heads, hoping that they can get what they wanted, what they were after, right? High THC. So what I'm trying to say that there is a big misconception, and people still don't, even in Canada, don't understand differences between low and high THC cannabis, right? So that's what I'm going to explain to you today, and make some comments about how to take advantage of these opportunities. So this high and low THC cannabis, what they have in common. Marijuana is grown for THC. Yes, I'm glad that you can read my slide. So industrial hemp or low THC cannabis is grown for, in Canada, grain fiber, and soon will be grown for livestock feed. Interestingly enough, right now, you cannot grow hemp for livestock feed. You can grow for cannery, for your bird feed. However, you cannot feed. You can feed to humans, but you cannot feed to cows, right? Well, it's way better because in Australia, until previous November, they could feed to animals, but they couldn't feed to humans. So it's all over the map. So what they have in common, these two cousins, what they have in common. And I noticed that you have a few booths out there, and the common factor or component among high and low THC cannabis is that they both contain CBD, right? And we have, as I said, we have a few guys who are just like presenting CBD opportunities. So you might know, but for those who are not aware what is happening, as was said, up north. Yes, this country is called Canada, up north. So in Canada, 20 years ago, in March 1999, our government legalized low THC cannabis. What constitutes in Canada low THC cannabis or industrial hemp? Less than 0.3% of THC. In Europe, it's less than 0.2% of THC. And this legalization was, as I said, only for food, for grain, grown for food and cosmetics, and for fiber. However, what is really, really important, that all leaves, all flowers, all chaff, as we call it, as farmers call it, that's chaff, that's how you call it? Yes? All these leafy residues had to be dropped on the ground and decay. So farmers couldn't remove a leafy material from this containing CBD. They couldn't remove from the field, right? So it was good. This industry was like booming for 20 years. However, I would say one of the most valuable part of the plant was still going to the drain, actually to the ground. So what happened in the legalization of cannabis? What happened in July 2001? In Canada, we got access to cannabis for medical purposes. So for doctor prescription, you could get for terminally ill people, severe pain, MS, HIV, and you name it. I have in my team, in my institute, I have 2 people who are just like been using high THC cannabis to control their chronic pains, right? So it is illegal since 2001. But that's what happened exactly a month ago. You haven't seen this? Okay, excellent, yes. So this is called maple leaf. But you have to change replace stars with the cannabis leaves. So there will be very many. So what happened exactly a month ago, this new Cannabis Act, so the big deal was, and that's what everybody was talking about, legalization of recreational marijuana in addition to just like already legal for medical purposes. But from my perspective, what is the most important is that this new Cannabis Act allowed for whole crop utilization. I told you that 20 years ago, or for the last 20 years, farmers are allowed to collect grain and fiber. Now, as of October, actually as of August 10th, because Health Canada sent a memorandum to farmers, producers, those who had license, that you can collect harvest hemp for CBD or collect chaff at grain harvest. So keep in mind, recreational marijuana, that is great, but from my perspective, or perspective of growers and hemp industry that I represent, whole crop utilization is even more important than having recreational marijuana registered. Okay, so I distinguish 2 major usage types of low THC cannabis, and the third type is in the works. I'm talking about, and we'll be talking briefly about CBD type varieties. So first type that I distinguish is grain type. You can see that this plants have short stature, high seed yield, and typically low or very low vegetative biomass. The other type that I distinguish is like a jewel, or some call it fiber type varieties. The plants are tall or very tall, and as you can see, this crop, this is my variety, fiber type or dual purpose type variety. This crop was grown for like less than 100 days. So even in this cold country up north, as you call it, Canada, where we have like a frost-free period less than 100 days, we can get tall and very tall varieties if we want to. Right? And of course, these varieties are predominantly grown for fiber, high quality fiber. So what happened? I told you that hemp was legalized 20 years ago in Canada. What happened in the country? So over this 20 years, acres of hemp were driven, or production of hemp was driven primarily by the needs of grain processors. Grain processors contracted acres, conventional or organic acres, and they were just like driving this production. And what you can see that last 10 years, we are seeing pretty much steady increase, 20 to 30% from year to year, right? So, and in the future, on just like in upcoming years, this acres will be driven also, but needs for fiber industries and of course for CBD. As was said, as Zach said, I am coming from a province called Alberta, next to the Rockies, next to BC. Very many of you are familiar. And over the last 10 years or so, we are seeing steady growth of production. Typically, last year, our production accounted for 1/3 of the country acres. Year before it was over 48% of national acres. So we are just a very strong player on the national hemp scene. So what is our Canadian focus? Our Canadian focus is now to develop, because we are developing hemp as a multi-purpose crop. And by the way, if you look at this picture, it's only optical illusion. This stem is not taller than telephone pole, but we are working towards it, okay? We are working towards it. So what I mean by multiple purpose use, this crop, there's no other crop. If you just name other crop that every single bit of this plant can be used, and more importantly, sold for money, I will give you $5. Even I can bet $100, you cannot. So keep in mind, compared to other crops that are grown on this continent, hemp is very unique. And we are just developing these opportunities. Of course, flower heads or seed heads for grown, as we said, for grain or for CBD. And these mighty stems are grown for fiber. And actually, as you know, as you can see on the some tables out there, there are two types of fiber that I briefly touched on: bast fiber and hurd, so bark or skin, and core fiber. In the 70% of the stem accounts for this sheave or hurd. Okay, so I came from a research institute, provincially funded, which is called right now InnoTech Alberta. We used to be known for 90 years as Alberta Research Council, which was more descriptive what we've been doing, but it doesn't really matter. 16 years ago, I realized what great potential resides within this crop. Even at that time, we couldn't tap to this multi-purpose. We couldn't use hemp for all three revenue streams. I was leading this efforts to develop, to assemble a program that we offer solutions from seed or from gene to final product. It's a very unique program. There's no other program of this caliber, nature, and structure in North America, and I would dare to say in the world. Under one roof, we are assembling and organizing and researching everything from just hemp genetics to final product, to development of biocomposites, right? And this program has three major domains. I call it feedstock development, fiber processing, and biocomposite research. So quickly, this from gene or from the beginning, identification and characterization of genes. And mind you, we are using molecular biology tools, no GMO. There's no social acceptance for hemp as a GMO crop, period, right? So we are using, absolutely. Okay, so now GMO, since you started clapping. I might, okay, how many major agricultural crops are genetically modified that you are just growing here in the States and we are growing globally? How many crops? How many species of crops can you? All of them. Okay. Okay, any other thoughts? Okay, all of them. Can I hear otherwise? 10 crops. Who said 10? Excellent. Any other numbers? All crops, 10 crops. I see 6. 14. 6 or 7. So guys, this is a urban myth that all crops that we are growing are genetically modified. There's no social acceptance. Major crops that are grown are canola, corn, soybean. In here, what? Alfalfa. No wheat. See, in wheat is not genetically modified and it's not grown at a commercial scale. In Canada, we are growing lots of flax. I'm not sure. Are you growing flax in here? Canada is the top grower of flax in the world. Now we are competing with China, and I will be talking about competition with China. So we got, 10 years ago, we got a genetically modified variety called Triffid. And then our European markets that majority of Canadian flax goes to was shut down because they found, just like a traces of Triffid in their product. So keep in mind, this is a side note, there's only few major crops grown globally. There's one papaya and cotton. Other crops that are grown and they are genetically modified. Anyhow, so we are just using molecular biology tools to increase biomass, bast fiber, lignin, high CBD and low THC, and we have developed several mutant populations, again using chemical mutants, so it's, to get some traits with altered fiber and cannabinoids profiles. So the next activity within this feedstock development is hemp selection and breeding. I am a certified or recognized breeder in Canada. We did germplasm evaluation, selection of top performers. And right now we are doing lots of breeding, lots of crosses, lots of research on just cultivars that are adapted to our cold or short season conditions, right? And we are just, of course, everybody is breeding now towards cannabinoids, CBD, and but we don't forget that hemp is a multi-purpose crop. Hemp never will be just like a crop that is used only for one application. You might have the best genetics, you might have the best genes, but if you don't know how to grow them, and that's what I'm hearing in here, just like you cannot get value from this crop, right? So along with our breeding and genetics studies, we for last a dozen or more years we've been doing this research on hemp agronomy. So we tested pretty much a vast majority of just like processes and factors that affect hemp production, again, in Alberta. And you have a laundry list of what we have already done. And we're talking with Robert in here, where to find information. Just like in Canada, we're a really nice guy, so we're just sharing this information for free. If you go to our webpage, hemptrade.ca, it's our national hemp organization, and on Monday we're starting our annual convention in Winnipeg, Manitoba. You will find this e-guide. So we designed this e-guide that you can get your, just like a mobile device. If you're sitting on a combine and you're just like a stack you don't know, you can, it's easily searchable information at the fingertips. So this is from us to you guys. So just use it and just like and enjoy it. Okay, so I was asking what kind of varieties you were growing, and it was Serbian variety or Croatian variety that you were. So this is what we are growing in Canada. Here I'm just like specifying for Alberta. Grain type varieties, remember, the short stature varieties predominate. Why? Because it was market for them, because processors were contracting this grain type varieties, right? So I'm not sure if you've heard about Finola. It's a very popular North American variety, very short, produces very little fiber of poor quality. However, it's early maturing, And for very many years, it was the number one, the most popular variety grown in the province and in Canada in general. And we have the other variety, X59, is improved compared to Finola. Why? Because Finola shatters or shells very easily. So I'm not sure if you, I know that there's few growers in here. On the prairies, we have this winds. You know, just you have a really nice crop, and then it blows for 2 days, and 80% of grain is on the ground. So farmers didn't like it. They wanted to have varieties that will be just keeping seeds in the seed head. X59 offers such qualities. And you can see that we have at least 3 new varieties that were released 2-3 years ago, and Catani, Grandi, and Piccolo, and they are just like gaining popularity rapidly. Again, short stature, grain type varieties. So if you're just like and I know just Zach told me that you want to first start with growing hemp for grain. Look at this, what these varieties have to offer. As I said 3 slides ago, we are already seeing increasing demand for fiber type or dual purpose type varieties for fiber industries. I will show you what we have done in Canada. And of course, is mounting interest in CBD. So quickly, variety selection. Some our data from our 40-year studies replicated at 3 locations across the province in different climates, from semi-arid in the south and then dry and cold in the north. So we are having this grain type varieties that this Mighty 4 has, just like produces yield that are outstanding. And I was telling you that this Catani, Piccolo, Finola, that they are short varieties. They are preferred by the growers because they don't have to deal, when they are just passing through combine, they don't have to deal with this ropey material. However, this varieties, X59, I already endorsed in a sense this variety. We call it medium short because they are just like height of them is like roughly they are this tall. And I want to draw your attention that some this fiber type varieties like Myceliaceae or Joey, they can produce more yield of grain than this typical grain type varieties. So I told you that we are developing dual purpose varieties, or now just like multi-purpose varieties. It's a proof that you can get tall varieties that you will be drawing revenue and products from the stems and from the grain. So straw, on the other hand, or fiber yields, we have this, my variety is the highest biomass producer or fiber producer in the country. And then we have like there's 3 distinguished groups. Fiber type, this medium short varieties, as you can see in here. So they are shorter, a bit, substantially shorter. And these 4 are true fiber type varieties. I encourage people who are just starting dealing with hemp and they want to combine, as we saw, start with the short type varieties. Why? Because you, as we said, you don't want to have to suffer these problems, particularly if you are a newcomer to hemp production. You will be having lots of problems. We have very many farmers who are very familiar with growing staple crops, canola, wheats, soybean, pulses, and you name it. And if they apply the same set of rules and the same approach as they do to staple crops, and they try to grow hemp, they fail miserably, primarily because they will be having lots of ropey material on their combines. I was, before we started, I was talking about growers. We have few large growers. What I mean large growers, hemp growers. How about 9,000 acres of hemp, one farm? Wow, yes, it is. So 10 years ago when I was asking Roy, so how do you harvest? He is typically growing 6,000, yeah, smaller grower, 6,000 acres. So he told me at that time, how do you harvest? Oh, I have like 6, 7 combines and 1 fire truck. And a fire truck, absolutely. Combines are just not cheap, if you might know. Why fire truck? Because when they were going fast, particularly if you're growing the taller varieties, wrapping up and fire. They were spitting, it's like a fireballs. I see some nods. You know, just they were simply dropping fire bombs, you know, just like a truck. Now we are recommending, now this newer combines can handle much better, and we are advising, if you go to our e-guide, our growers will tell you how to modify your combines, which means where to put duct tape and PVC pipe. Well, just as simple as could be. And always have extinguisher on your combine. So field selection, we're just discussing quickly. Hemp is very sensitive to soil structure. I'm hearing that you have a very fertile land in here. However, we are observing, and you will be observing, big penalties on compacted soils, and hemp doesn't tolerate soils with poor drainage. First, and the most important thing you will be looking for, good drainage, soils with good drainage. And I can show you why we are saying so. So it was 2017. This is a low spot in here. We had a very wet spring. So hemp germinated really nice, and then all low spots, you know, just like we suffered crop loss. And you can see that the higher spot, really nice, thick canopy, close canopy, right? So I complained, but here across the border, Quebec, Olivier sent me a picture from the same 2017. And he said, Jan, you're complaining about this patch that you lost. Look what happened in here. So it's not paddy rice. It is my silesia. It's like a grown in here. Poor drainage combined with high precipitation, crop failure. Keep this in mind, okay? Eventually, my crop started getting back, but it was still dwarfed and severely affected. So seeding. We're talking about how to seed. We recommend shallow seeding into soil moisture. But if soil moisture is like 3 inches, don't go 3 inches deep. Seed shallow, because as we discussed before this, it grows really fast. Once soil is warm, as we will be talking about in here, I will talk about this momentarily. It will germinate within 3 days, even in this cold country of Canada. So seeding rates, again, we are metric in Canada, so you have to translate, use your Google Translator or whatever. We are just recommending 20 to 25 kilograms per hectare or pounds per acre. Some growers who want to save on money, they go 15 kilograms per pounds per acre, but you have to know what you're doing. Again, this is when you're growing for grain. If you're growing for fiber, or if you're growing for CBD, you have to at least double this. Why? Because we're looking for slender plants, no secondary branches bearing lower quality fiber. So we have to have higher seeding density. Keep this in mind. You know, just when growers are growing canola, barley, whatever, just one seeding rate. Here, you have to know what you're growing crop for, right? Before you put seeds in the ground, you have to know what you are going for and adjust your management practices accordingly, right? I was talking about warm soils. Some growers, oh, just like I will seed early, you know, forget it. You have to seed in warm soils and 8, 10 degrees, whatever is in Fahrenheit. Again, this is like a language barrier. Sorry, no. Warm soils, keep this in mind. Field mortality. You know, just like a hemp, another factor to take into consideration, suffers for high field mortality, particularly if you seed early in cold soil. You know, just like typically we recommend to increase, when you do test, in laboratory test, and you have germ test, 85, 90%, we recommend to increase your seeding rate by 30%. Why? To account for field mortality. Why? Fungal diseases, just like cracked seeds, and we'll be just discussing this. Cracked seeds can, just will die because fungi, bacteria, and you name it, penetrate through the open cracks and kill your seeds. So keep this in mind.
Are you taking questions? Or are you gonna wait?
I will wait. Yeah, just like equipment. This is like that's what we're talking about, avoiding cracking. Equipment. When you're seeding, farmers, when you're seeding, set your fan at very low speed in air seeders. Why? I will tell you. This is a picture. Next picture is from this guy who has, this year he had 4,500 of hemp seeded. So what he did, and he showed me how seeding speed or fan speed can affect your success of your hemp production. Just like a guy was rushing for lunch. So he said, going faster, so he said fan at 5,000 RPM. And then after lunch, just was happy. So I have plenty of time, so lowered till 3,000 RPM. So what happened? And 5,000 RPM, nothing germinated or scattered plant germinated. You can see in here well-defined rows of hemp, 5,000 nothing. Why? Was very harsh on the seeds, seeds cracked, and just were infected by fungi, and you name it. So keep in mind such tiny things that might decide about just like a success of your production. Seeding date, we're talking about early seeding date. For grain growers, I don't recommend early seeding date. Why? Because seeding date affects fiber production, or in other words, height of the plant. So why? Hemp is a short day plant. What does it mean? That long days, mind you, if you look at the map of Canada, and Alberta in particular, between my southern and northern station, I have 1,000 kilometers south to north, right? So it's huge difference, specifically 2 hours extra daylight at higher latitudes. So what? Hemp elongation, hemps grow taller and taller and taller until days are long. When in the beginning of July, when days are getting shorter, hemp starts flowering, because the majority of our varieties registered in Canada are not auto-flowering, so they are light sensitive. So in a nutshell, the earlier you seed, the higher or the taller plants you get, the higher fiber yield you get. On the contrary, grain growers, they want to have, as we discussed, the shortest plants possible, so they are delaying seeding sometimes till late June. The latest that I had, one of the growers lost to hail, lost 900 acres, peanuts, right? Lost to hail, storm, and he reseeded on July 16th. July 16th. And guess what? It's the only crop in Canada that seeded on July 16th. You can still get a crop, or you can harvest yield in mid-October. So it's the only crop. Hemp is, as I call it, excuse my French, study bastard. So it can do stuff. Okay, so just like a few numbers. As I said, early seeding date, early, late, and standard regular seeding date. Of course, just height, as I said, was higher at the early seeding. Straw yield, or eventually fiber yield, was higher at early seeding dates. And there is no differences in seed yield. So typically, there is no much penalty for early seeding. So fertilization, the other thing, the other management component. When I ask growers, or used to ask growers, how much nitrogen to put, as much as I can afford, right? So it means that put the nitrogen as much as for high-yielding wheat, high-protein wheat. what is really important, another hint for the producers, that hemp is sensitive to nitrogen fertilizer placement. Don't dare to put nitrogen along with your seeds. Because I made this, not mistake, it is a research, so you can always claim that it was, it was research. We put, no, we're the testing nitrogen placement. You have to side band or mid-road band. If you put with the nitrogen with the seeds, it starts germinating really nice. Oh my gosh, this is growing great. Seedlings got like 8-10 inches and then stop. That's it. You know, just nitrogen was damaging roots and ceased, you know, just like a plant growth. Keep in mind, tiny things, but you know, just can make huge difference. Okay. So we know that the farmers are telling us that as much as you can afford, how to put it. So we tested increasing rates of nitrogen application on performance of grain and fiber yields. So you can see that maximum yields were observed at 120 kilograms or pounds per acre. And we were observing some grain yield reduction and higher rates, perhaps due to this toxicity of nitrogen. For fiber, on the other hand, the situation was somewhat different. You know, just mind you, I'm telling you, you cannot approach hemp as any other crop. You have to know what you are doing depending on what you are growing this crop for. Okay? So in here, maximum yields, 3 varieties, different usage type, and maximum yields were obtained at 90 kilograms. So it means that it doesn't make any sense environmentally, economically, to put as much as I can afford. So it means go to high nitrogen rates. You are not getting response. You're just polluting environment with nitrogen, and you're just like wasting your money. So, however, when we look at this, the different varieties, we found that as far as grain yields are concerned, so grain type varieties, this X59 and Finola, they responded to this 120 kilograms. Silesia fiber type variety had, as far as grain is concerned, the maximum was again achieved at 90 kilograms or pounds per acre. For fiber yields, it was the other way around. Again, was like a very weak or weaker response of grain type varieties and stronger fiber type varieties expected. As I said, in Canada for the last 20 years, we are growing hemp predominantly for food and more, I call it. So why? Perhaps I don't have to explain, it's an educated crowd, but for the record, perfect omega-3 to omega-6, this 1-to-3 ratio that is in your brain, in your blood, and you name it, right? You know, just like, and we have this stearidonic acid that is not present in other crops. I also work with flax, as I said, and people are telling me, oh, I eat flax for omega-3s. I said, well, but you don't need too much omega-3s. You need, all what you need is balance, is ratio, right? So hemp is called superfood. Why? Because you know, just like this fatty acids in this grain are anti-inflammatory, cardioprotective, immunostimulants, you name it, right? 80% are polyunsaturated fatty acid, the highest of any kind of food. So hemp is truly superfood, and that's what we are just like doing and growing in Canada. Have you had your hemp food today? Who? What did you have? CBD oil. Okay. In what form? Okay. Okay. Who else had some CBD product today? What did you have?
I had it in the chicken salad just outside.
Chicken fed with?
Chicken salad.
Okay. And chicken were, okay, the salad sprinkled with hemp hearts, right? What else? CBD coffee. Why nobody served me CBD coffee? Oh, you guys are not friendly, not like us Canadians. I'm kidding. Don't, just erase this, sorry. He's taping, he will be taking against me. Okay, so I'm talking about hemp as superfood, and of course, hemp protein. I take every morning, not today, I didn't bring with me hemp protein. You know, all essential, non-essential amino acid I take with my milk every morning, hemp protein, protein powder. Lots of Canadian athletes are endorsing and using. It's way better than other protein and, for example, whey and you name it. The best, easily digestible protein. And of course, phytonutrients, vitamins, you name it, right? The other more was this bottle of hemp vodka. Yes, indeed, in Alberta, we are having hemp vodka, so it means that was like a brewed from triple distilled wheat and infused with hemp grown in Alberta and processed in the United States of America. So you have contribution. Okay, I close it. So other use of hemp grain products or oil. I credit the Body Shop. Ladies, are you familiar with this? Absolutely. They were destigmatizing hemp years ago. They put this line of products containing hemp. Kudos to them, because I don't have to talk to you about hemp stigma. I want to tell you that in Alberta, we have very many entrepreneurs who are successfully marketing and developing all kinds of hemp products. This is my shelf in our bathroom. So I have everything. This is not for human. This is just not lip balms, but they are for your dogs and cats and you name it. And for horses, somewhere is the cannabis oil for horses. Okay, so I told you that we're working with the fiber industry and we're developing fiber industry. And Alberta is North American hub as far as hemp fiber industry is concerned. So here, this is like a map of our province, and I'm just showing you how many companies that are utilizing hemp fiber developed by us, grown by us, and processed by us. And you can see a plethora and a wide array of applications of hemp fiber, everything from nanomaterials to building materials and everything in between, including auto parts for American cars. So speaking of cars, of course, just like a high-end car, just like a German brands for time being, they contain hemp panels. Who drives Mercedes, by the way? Hey, BMW. So seriously, they are already using this. This is like a Class C. How many parts? Do you drive trucks in here at all? No. Trucks? Yeah, this is our Alberta trucks. You can see snow. This is July. No, that was March. Truck, not entire truck, but canopy of this truck is made again by hemp, grown by us, processed by us. And you can see the spot in here. And we didn't paint this on purpose to prove that this entire canopy is made out of hemp. How about tractors? How about growing your own tractor? No, not entire tractor, but that's just like fenders and hood and you name it, made out of. This is our colleagues from Manitoba, from Composite Innovation Center, and this gentleman is our farm manager. Another few demonstrations of green composite, both parts. You have lakes, so we have lakes in BC. This is our collaboration with a company from BC making both parts, insulation materials, furniture, and cool stuff as well in here. People are asking, yeah, snowboard, look, snowboard, yes, absolutely, and longboard. Why we are just showing this? Why? To show physical properties of hemp biocomposites. Why? It's just like a can replace just like a petroleum-based or glass fiber-based biocomposites. And I could have another entire talk about what we've been doing about it. Okay, textile applications. Okay, you can see everything from our denim or jeans that I was wearing last year. This is hemp backpack that I bought 2 weeks ago in Portugal, and it is 100% hemp. Listen, THC free. Well, years ago, people were asking me, hey, Jan, can you roll your T-shirt and smoke it? How stupid. Have you heard these comments? Absolutely. So it is THC-free, and guess what? Made in Nepal, Himalayan. Okay, if you want to touch me, okay, I'm sporting today hemp shirt. It's not this burlap bag. This is like high quality fiber, yes, made out of hemp. And you can go as fine as ladies' underwear. So keep in mind that you don't have to use this hemp only for just like a coarse materials, but also for something that is really, really fine. Okay, building materials, Marty will be talking about it. In Alberta, we have this company, Just Biofiber, that developed this modular building block system. They are just, they developed. Yes, I know I have to just wrap up, so I have only 20 slides left, Zach. So we'll go through this. I just don't want to steal Marty's thunder, but we have this technology developed and marketed, and they have already built this on Vancouver Island. This mansion is really, really nice. If you want to, just like I'm leaving this, so go to this link. They are showing how they are constructing. I bet that you are familiar, and it's really, really, just like a high-end technology. Nanomaterials. I'm collaborating with University of Alberta, National Institute of Technology. We are developing supercapacitors and batteries made out of silesia. So this is like a picture, electronic photogram from our silesia fiber, and you can see that without any pretreatment, this crop, this variety, can develop single layer, just like a nanocarbon, like graphene-like materials. So let's finish up with CBD. Of course, just like that's what you're discussing. You're taking every morning, right? So there's a big, as I said, farmers now can grow and extract and sell for extraction. However, I'm telling and teaching farmers that it's really great that you're just growing for CBD, but you have to remember that eventually CBD yield will be depending on this jam. I call it a jam: genetics, environment, and management. First of all, of course, we are striving, as we said, breeding towards high CBD or increased 5 minutes varieties. Environment affects CBD content big time. I have been testing, my laboratory have been testing for the last 5 or 6 years, and you see the same variety, variability. Is it dry, is it cold? It was like environmental factors play a big role. So guys are asking me, so how much is in this variety? Which year, which location, and you name it. Management, how you harvest, at what stage you harvest, and what kind of fertility you apply. For example, I can tell you that potassium affects or increases CBD content. Here, just like this 12 or 13 varieties that I tested, and you can see dynamics of CBD over growing period. And the good part is that some varieties, CBD goes up and they stay for a long period of time. So it means that when you're harvesting for grain, you are still getting lots of CBD in the chaff. We were testing our CBG, CBN. Again, pattern of response is different than in CBD. So factors affecting harvestable CBD, that's what we are talking about. When you harvest, how you manage. A method of harvest, if you're using, just like specialized harvesters as this one from the Netherlands, or you're just cutting and leaving and drying. Drying method. This is very interesting because some guys are telling me I have a very efficient dryer, tumble dryer. I said, oh, that good luck. All these trichomes will be knocked off and left in the on the ground or at the bottom of your dryer, and you will be processing, just like next to nothing. And of course, method of extraction. So on average, when guys don't know how to harvest, they are losing 50% of cannabinoids during poor management practices. So just like I don't. Take-home message is here that CBD in Canada will be sourced from industrial hemp, not from marijuana. Why? Because, as I said, right now we have, we can produce 1,800 tons of CBD in a couple of years. When acres are just up, we'll be producing 15,000 tons of CBD. Why? Indoor production of marijuana is right now, as of today, is around 300 acres. So look at acres of high and low THC cannabis. So economics of low THC cannabis might ask me why to invest in by 2023. Industrial hemp will be $1 billion crop. Why? Because we are transforming from grain and fiber into a CBD crop. So it will be, we're talking about development, just like a number of jobs, investment, seeded acres. So keep in mind, with this new Cannabis Act, we are transforming industrial hemp, low THC cannabis, into $1 billion crop. So global outlook for CBD market. I was telling you about China. China is, well, 2 years ago, they got first commercial scale CBD production factory out there, and they are just like a day number 0. Okay, I ran out of time. Okay, this is the last slide. Okay, can I have -1?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is the last slide. Obstacles from the Canadian perspective. Whole crop utilization checked off. We're done. Legalization of hemp for animal feed screenings is in progress. My laboratory is analyzing and providing information for our regulators that cows cannot get high from eating hemp, grain and hemp screenings. That's how they think. Sorry, I'm getting emotional about it. Market development awareness. Only 4% of Canadian households right now are using hemp products. Customer preferences, more and more organic acres. That's what customers prefer, hemp for grain in particular. Unstable international grain markets. China and Korea are entered the race, as you know, and you have to consider when you're developing your industry in here, you have to look what is happening out in Asia. Of course, CBD varieties, there's lots of in here, but however, to be registered in Canada, we need a couple of 3-4 years from now, maybe 2-3 years from now. So right now, we don't have this 15% low THC varieties. It will take a couple of years, and lack of dual purpose varieties, and lack of processing, large-scale processing capacities. Our research goals, breeding for high THC and drought resistant. We are facing more and more drought problems. Fine-tuning of agronomy. I said that we did a lot of agronomy, but there's still several aspects that have to be addressed. Just crop rotation. I just started 4-year studies. Evaluation for disease and weed pressure. Crop protection. Macronutrients for high CBD yields. This is all what is affecting your ultimate success. And of course, okay. Thank you. That was like a -1. Sorry. Just like I wonder if you've heard about Ernest Small. It's a famous, it's like a scientist, researcher, botanist who I believe 30 or 40 years ago, when Health Canada was asking and considering, so he proposed this 0.3% threshold for industrial hemp. Mind you, Europe is 0.2%. And this July, we had an International Pacific Rim Convention. I haven't seen you guys out there. And Ernie apologized to a hemp community, to people in the room, and apologized. Blame on me. I said this 0.3%. Now, I would set 1% and would make lots of difference as far as CBD lines are concerned. So we are just like we're started working on it. I'm not sure how it's in the States, but in Canada, it would take a while, a long while, till we get to this 1%. but it is not avoidable. We cannot, if we're seriously thinking about high CBD varieties, you know, I'm talking this 10-15%, which we have, my colleagues have, I don't have, I have 4 or 5% right now. We have to have this 1%. And over the time, just like mark my words, we'll get there. I'm not sure if you guys will be ahead of us, but it has to happen. Otherwise, this CBD market will be, you know, severely affected.